Have you ever imagined what it feels like to wake up every day not knowing who you really are? Not knowing the face of the person who gave you life, or why you ended up on the darkest streets of a strange city? This is the story of Lu Wei, a boy who carried the weight of a debt he could never repay for 18 years, but who ultimately discovered that true love cannot be measured in money. If you're listening from your city, comment where you're following us from, because this story reminds us that human kindness knows no borders. It was 1995 on the outskirts of Guangzhou, one of the busiest cities in southern China. The air was thick with factory smoke, and the scent of fried food mixed with the diesel smell of trucks hauling goods to Hong Kong. In that maze of alleys and illegal markets, where desperation was sold to the highest bidder, a 6-year-old boy trembled inside a bamboo cage, his dark eyes reflecting a terror no child should ever know. Lu Wei didn't remember how he ended up there. His last clear memories were of a small village in Hunan province, where he lived with his grandmother in a mud house that crumbled with every rain. He remembered the salty taste of his grandmother's tears when men from the city arrived promising work and education for him. "It will be better for you, little one," they told him. "In the city, you'll have opportunities you'll never have here." But there was no school, no work. Only cages, screams, and the constant fear of not knowing what would become of him. The traffickers had labeled him as special merchandise, a healthy, smart child, perfect for wealthy families looking for an heir or for underground factories needing small, nimble hands. The initial price was 8,000 yuan, a fortune at that time. He had spent 3 weeks in that hell when she appeared. Her name was Chan Mei Ling, a 34-year-old woman with her hair tied in a simple bun, dressed in modest but clean clothes. Her hands, rough from years of hard work, contrasted with the gentleness in her eyes. She worked double shifts at a textile factory and had saved every penny for 2 years with a dream that seemed impossible: to have a child. Mei Ling had lost 3 babies during pregnancy, and doctors had told her it was unlikely she could ever be a mother. Her husband had left her, saying, "A woman who can't have children is worthless." But she refused to give up. She had heard rumors about the black market, though she knew it was dangerous and morally questionable. When she saw Lu Wei, their hearts connected immediately. The boy, despite his fear, felt something familiar in her gaze. It was as if he had found a piece of home in the most inhospitable place in the world. Mei Ling didn't have the full 8,000 yuan, only 5,500 she had religiously saved. But when she saw the boy's deplorable condition, she couldn't walk away. "Please," she begged the traffickers. "This is all I have. You can have my gold earrings, they were my mother's." The criminals initially laughed, but something in her determination made them accept the deal. Maybe it was how Lu Wei ran to her and clung to her skirt, or maybe they just wanted to get rid of that merchandise that was costing them more than expected. Lu Wei's transformation wasn't immediate. The first weeks in Mei Ling's small apartment were a whirlwind of nightmares, flinching at every loud noise, and episodes where he hid under the bed, fearing the bad men would come back for him. Mei Ling had to wake up several times each night to comfort him, whispering lullabies she had learned from her own mother. Money was scarce. Mei Ling worked from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Lu Wei waited at home doing his homework under the dim light of an old lamp. Most nights they ate rice with vegetables, and on Sundays, if it had been a good week, they allowed themselves a small piece of pork or chicken. But there was something special about those simple dinners. The stories. Mei Ling told Lu Wei about ancient Chinese heroes, wise dragons, and the importance of perseverance. "One day," she told him as she stroked his hair, "you will be someone important and help others just like I helped you." Lu Wei grew up with that promise ringing in his heart. He studied fiercely, as if every good grade was a way to honor his adoptive mother's sacrifice. Because that's what Mei Ling had become for him, not just the woman who paid for his freedom, but the mother who chose to love him unconditionally. Years passed, and Lu Wei became a brilliant young man. By age 16, he spoke fluent English and had won several provincial math competitions. Universities started to notice him, but he had a secret that haunted him. He never stopped searching for information about the transaction that changed his life. One night, when Mei Ling thought he was asleep, Lu Wei heard her crying in the kitchen as she went through medical bills. She had developed serious respiratory problems from years working in the textile factory but refused to see a doctor because they couldn't afford it. "It doesn't matter," he heard her whisper. "He's worth every sacrifice." That's when Lu Wei made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Using his research skills, he began meticulously tracking his past. He wanted to know every detail of his rescue, not out of morbid curiosity, but because he had a plan. After months of searching, he contacted a former trafficker who had been arrested and was now cooperating with authorities. The man, remorseful for his past, confirmed details Lu Wei had already suspected. Mei Ling hadn't just paid her life savings. She had also pawned her deceased mother's jewelry and taken out a loan that took years to repay. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. The ex-trafficker told him there had been other buyers interested in Lu Wei that day, people with much more money willing to pay full price. However, Mei Ling arrived first and pleaded so passionately that they decided to give her the chance. "Your mother," the man told him, "didn't buy you, she saved you. And she did it with a love I had never seen in that damn place." Lu Wei went home that night with his heart overflowing with mixed emotions. Immense gratitude, pain for Mei Ling's silent sacrifices, and a fierce determination to change their lives forever. The next day, he did something that surprised all his teachers. He rejected offers from the country's most prestigious universities and accepted a scholarship abroad that included a monthly stipend. When Mei Ling protested, saying she didn't want him to go so far away, Lu Wei took her hands in his. "Mom," he said, it was the first time he called her that. "For 18 years, you carried the burden of saving me. Now it's my turn to save you." With tears running down her cheeks, Mei Ling finally understood that her scared little boy had become a noble and grateful man. Lu Wei went to study engineering in Canada, but every month he sent money home, not only to cover Mei Ling's medical expenses but so she could quit the factory and finally take care of her health. In his letters, he always included the same phrase: "This isn't charity, it's justice. It's the most beautiful debt I'll ever pay in my life." 4 years later, Lu Wei returned to China with an engineering degree and a job offer from a multinational company. But his first stop wasn't the corporate office in Beijing. It was the small apartment where he grew up. Mei Ling waited for him at the door, no longer with the gray hair she had from stress, but with a radiant smile and renewed health. The house had been modestly remodeled, but more importantly, there were photos everywhere. Graduations, celebrations, happy moments they had built together despite adversity. "Son," Mei Ling said as she hugged him, "I always knew this day would come. I always knew you were worth every penny, every tear, every sleepless night." Lu Wei hugged her tightly, breathing in the familiar scent of her cheap but beloved perfume. "Mom," he whispered, "you didn't pay to rescue me. You paid to teach me what true love means." Together they looked to the future, not as rescuer and rescued, but as a family who had proven that love isn't measured in business transactions, but in silent sacrifices and the ability to choose good even in the darkest places. Years later, Lu Wei founded a foundation to fight child trafficking in China. Its motto, written in gold characters at the entrance of its offices, perfectly sums up his life philosophy. "True love is not bought, it multiplies." And every night, no matter how busy he is at work or how many important meetings he has the next day, Lu Wei calls Mei Ling, not to report his successes or ask for business advice, but simply to hear her voice and remind her that the most beautiful debt of his life is one he will never finish paying, and never want to stop paying. The story of Lu Wei and Chen Mei Ling teaches us that sometimes the most heroic acts don't happen on battlefields or big stages, but in dark markets where a woman decides a child deserves love more than money. It reminds us that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the ability to transform pain into purpose and gratitude into action. Have you ever had someone in your life who made a silent sacrifice for you? Someone whose unconditional love changed the course of your destiny? Share your experience in the comments, because these stories of selfless love need to be told and celebrated. From wherever in the world you're listening, your story matters too and can inspire others. In a world where we often hear about human cruelty, the story of Lu Wei and Mei Ling shows us that kindness still exists, that true love transcends the hardest circumstances, and that sometimes the best families aren't the ones born of blood, but the ones forged in the conscious decision to love and protect another human being.